Hello, my dear students. Warm welcome to all of you. We are with physics now. Okay, we'll be talking very seriously about physics now. Okay, myself is Dr. Shobboshachi Shen. I'll be offering you the physics courses, course objective, course outcome. You can see on the screen, and we are in outcome-based education. So every course is mapped with what is its probable outcomes, which I have illustrated later on. Now there are five modules. Now we'll be adapting one by one to each module and explore the world of physics. Now let us explore what is the topic of the day. You should keep one thing in mind, that whatever we teach in these classes, each video lecture is basically a building block of your future engineering courses. Each class is going to give you some fundamentals, some new concept. And if you add all those concepts at the end of the semester, you will get the correct path of entering into your own engineering curriculum, because all your curriculum are essentially the application of physics. Engineering means physics applications. So let us explore it a bit more. I should say physics 1. Let us start it. Hello, how are you, my dear students? Very good morning and warm welcome to my class. It has been a fascinating journey. So far, we have we're in the 35th class now. We started with quantum ideas. There was a physics of smaller particles. Then we moved into a bit of modern optics, lasers, optical fibers, and now we are dealing purely with the classical optics. Now, what does it mean by classical optics? It is basically the phenomena of interference, the phenomena of diffraction. And last 2 days, we have actually focused on talking, on learning about the concept of diffraction of light. And I told you, in a sense, we talk about light, but it is specifically the visible spectrum of the electromagnetic waves we are talking about. In diffraction, we initially talked about diffraction with a single slit. After that, we moved into diffraction with double slit. And by this time, diffraction means bending of light. If light waves get bent around the edge of an obstacle or an aperture, if the width of the obstacle or the size of the aperture is close to the wavelength of that particular radiation, then light wave do bend. Okay, does bend actually, I should say, at the end of the aperture, at the edge of the aperture obstacle. So this is connected with intensity redistribution, or we get a diffraction pattern. We get something with you see intensity distribution with a single slit. When you use two slits, their interference effects comes into action. Now today we'll move from one to two to many slits today. So we'll talk about a multiple slit system, which is also calculating. So the objective of the class is to talk about diffraction in multiple slits. An outcome is that after you will be actually whatever we discuss, you'll be able to explain the intensity distribution that we see with diffraction grating in physics laboratory. And diffraction grating has got tremendous application in a variety of optoelectronic devices, particularly even in the image processing sector, so it is used. And nowadays also We are at the atomic level also. We are trying to develop grating that Davidson Jammer experiment you studied already. That is an application of achieving this same phenomena of diffraction grating at the atomic level. At the nano level also, people are now getting it. So it has got a long-standing applications, long-standing implications. So if you address this problem properly, many things will be unfolded. Not only related to the optics, and it's related to the physical sciences, okay, in general. So now let us get into the business in more detail. This is obviously the 35th class. I don't have to mention all these things. This is me. Okay, I'm available to you anytime, anywhere in those numbers. And this is, I remind you that we are talking about electromagnetic wave, and bilight means it's a part of this entire electromagnetic spectrum. And these are some of the common sense. Will every day I'll mention in front of you the basic concepts of path difference. If it is whatever with the path difference, if you multiply it to pi by lambda, it is connected with phase difference. Because we talk about interference so often, so for that purpose, phase difference is an issue because coherence in the superposition of coherent beams lead to interference. Okay, so each and every step, whether what is the phase difference between the waves, if it is maintained properly, then we get the coherent beams. If they superposes, we get intensity distribution. All these are related issues. So that's why time and again getting the path difference between the superposing waves and calculation of the corresponding phase difference is an issue, which you have also noticed in the studies of the single slit and double slit diffraction. Okay, you have seen it. So now let us move forward a bit. This is all about the studies of diffraction. These are known to you. I have already discussed it. I have presented all these issues in front of you. This is some very common sense. That is, this is coming from the rectilinear motion. Now, what diffraction means, bending of light. All these stories you know. We started diffraction. There are two classes are there: Fraunhofer class and Fresnel class of diffraction. Fraunhofer and Fresnel diffractions are the two types of diffraction. And in this class, we will actually talk about we are focusing on the Fraunhofer diffraction, where both the source and the screen at infinity with respect to the obstructor, and that we achieve through lens system. The single slit one you have already studied. This is what happens with single slit. Okay, there is a Fresnel diffraction. This is Fresnel. Fraunhofer I mentioned. This is a phenomena of single slit diffraction, which you just a quick recap of what happens. Okay, single slit diffraction, and if I move forward a bit, this is the studies of diffraction with one state, with a diffraction with a single state. Okay, and you can see there this is corresponds to central maxima, and diffraction means bending of the light. Okay, and that will corresponding to the redistribution of intensity. Intensity gets redistributed at the point P. Okay, we get the bright and dark, the change in intensity, the higher intensity or lower intensity, that is called diffraction pattern. Okay, so we have adapted a method, okay, to calculate the phase difference between the two path difference between the superposing wave at the point P. We calculated the get related phase difference, and after that we progressed. Okay, those calculations have been done. So I will basically move forward very quickly in this direction. Okay, now from single slit, we actually moved into double slit diffraction, from one slit to many slits. Okay, this is a double slit diffraction pattern. You're aware of what happens in case of double slit diffraction. Okay, diffraction added with the interference of the waves coming in. Okay, so basically this is one slit, two slit. So that we are more concerned about what happens at the point P. Okay, because there we get the complete distribution in intensity. At the point where we get the highest maxima, central maxima. So this is the way we address this problem of double slit the other day. Okay, I'm just quickly getting through this. Okay, similar technique. What we did with single slit to get the intensity at the point P, we started with one slit. After that, we added the contribution of both the slits because of the displacement of the superposing waves there. And from that expression, we actually calculated the final intensity. Now today, we are now moving into, this is what happens in double slits. Okay, you can see the final displacement is contributed by both the slits. Okay, there is the addition going on. Now what I shall do today, we'll now from 1 to 2, we'll now move to n number of slits. Okay, this is a double slit diffraction pattern that is available on the screen. There is an envelope of the interference phenomena, and also inside that envelope, single slit diffraction are there. Okay, and concept of missing order, etc., are always shared. Now today, we are actually concentrating, we are actually focusing on the multiple state diffraction. Now, what you see many gaps are there. Okay, so each gap is the aperture, and in between the gaps are separated by some opaque spaces. So I've got how many gaps there? So many slits. So these are the rays coming in, as you can see it on the picture. Okay, now you can see here the rays coming in. Okay, and now again you see that A stands for the width of the aperture and B stands for the width of the obstacle. A plus B together we call as D. Okay, we'll give it a name. Okay, now you see I've got many slits. There are so many slits which are marked there. So large number of parallel slits are there. All the slits have got the aperture width of A, opaque space width of B. So A plus B equal to D is called grating element, and this entire system is forming a diffraction grating. So diffraction grating is basically a multi-slit arrangement, multiple slit arrangement. So diffraction grating can be of two types, as you can see it on the screen. One type of diffraction is called transmission grating. Okay, one type of diffraction, that is transmission grating diffraction. And the other type of diffraction is a reflection grating diffraction. So two types of diffractions are possible. One is the transmission, another is the reflection. So two types of diffractions are possible. So what is a transmission grating diffraction? Okay, let me illustrate it. In case of transmission grating diffraction, it is an optically plane transparent glass plate is used. Extremely close groups, actually those groups means those opaque space are actually created by ruling that glass with the help of diamond pointer. Just imagine, you know, for diamond is harder than the glass, so you can rule the glass, use the diamond pointer as the ruling. So basically, if you rule it, each line will act as an opaque space. In between two lines, you get a the creation of a slate. So this is what happens in case of the this transmission grating. Just for your convenience, I am showing you what happens. Okay, this is what happens here. Okay, suppose I choose here. Suppose this is a glass. Okay, I have chosen it. On the glass, actually, what is done on the glass? Actually, what is done? Many rulings are made. Suppose this is one ruling. Okay, many rulings are made. Suppose many rulings are made on the glass. So what we are essentially doing? Suppose I am drawing one line here. So this is I am doing one. So in this way, many closely spaced lines are drawn. Okay, unfortunately, none of my lines are getting straight. Actually, it is ruled straight. Okay, you can see now many lines are actually drawn. Okay, so this is what you do with the diamond pointer, that these lines I'm drawing here. So that is done. Now what happens, because you are doing it, okay, like this. Now what happens, because you are doing it, this space is actually acts as the aperture. Okay, so this is your aperture, and these lines itself, so you can see this is one line. So if you look at the picture, so this is one line, this is another line. So these lines are actually acting like the opaque space. These are the opaque space. So this is also opaque. So opaque means through which light cannot go. So the system is becoming like this much. I have got a system like this. These lines are actually acting like the opaque space. These are the opaque space. And this is acting like the aperture, the in between the gap. This is the aperture. This is the aperture. So this is another opaque space. So in this way, you can see so you can create number of aperture in the opaque space. Now, how many such opaque space and aperture you can create? Just remember your laboratory, the normal lab. In normal lab, you see you have taken a number of rulings in the grating. In the suppose you are using a grating of 2500 lines per inch. So basically, in 1 inch there are 2500 such lines are there. Or you may imagine, say 2500 is close to 934. So it is like this much. So if this is a grating, okay, suppose this region is close to 1 centimeter. Within this 1 centimeter, how many such lines are there? Many closely spaced lines are there. Okay, how many such lines are there? 2500 means close to 984. Okay, lines are there. So close to 1000 are there per centimeter. So just imagine, if I just want to exaggerate this small region. So in this small region, so basically, if I want to exaggerate this small region, you can see there are so many closely spaced lines are there. How many lines are there? 1000 such lines are there over this region. 1000 such lines are there. So the gap between any two lines is the aperture. This is the gap between any two lines. So this is the aperture, the gap between any two lines. And you can understand the gap is very low. The width of the gap is very, very low. It is like 1/1000 centimeter. So basically 10 to the power -3 centimeter means it is of the order of 10 to the power -5 meter. So it is of the order of 10,000 angstrom. Okay, 10,000 angstrom. Now this is close to the visible spectrum. Okay, because visible spectrum is like 4,000 to 8,000 angstrom. Okay, visible spectrum is like 4,000 to 8,000 angstrom. So it is falling into that region of 4,000 to 8,000 angstrom. So that's why the aperture width I am providing, the width of the aperture, this width that we are, okay, this is a region. This is the width of the aperture I am providing. This width of the aperture that we are providing. This width of the aperture we are providing. These widths are of the order of 10,000 angstrom. So that is close to the wavelength of light. So that means what you are doing this much. That means you are placing the grating means. You are placing the grating means. These are the lines. Okay, these are the rulings. Okay, so what you are doing, you are actually placing, okay, how many such lines are there? In 1 centimeter, 1,000 such lines are there. So basically, if I exaggerate this small region, okay, I've got many closely spaced such lines are there, okay. What is the gap between any two lines? Of the order of 10,000 angstrom. So I've got many such apertures are presented there, okay. So many such apertures are presented there. Say each say you may you see 1,000 lines per centimeter means there is 999 such apertures are there, and each aperture which is like 10,000 angstrom. So now if you make incidence of say ordinary light, which you do in the physics lab, the practical you do, the practical you do in the physics lab, where you send a red light, you send a red laser, okay, you send a red laser. So basically, wavelength of red light is close to 8,000 angstrom, thousands of angstrom. So this wavelength, say you are using a wavelength of red light like 8,000 angstrom. So this wavelength is close to the wavelength of the close to the aperture width. So now incident beam and the width of the aperture are almost in the same, are of the same order. So it is good for diffraction to take place. So you are actually, how many slits you are presenting? You are presenting many slits for the diffraction to, or multiple slits for the diffraction to happen. So this is what happens inside a grating. So this is called a transmission grating. Now you get a reflection type grating also. Same thing also you can get uh, reflection type grating. Okay. So this is what happens in transmission grating I just mentioned. Now what happens in reflection grating? Same thing happens. Okay, but extremely close grooves are made, but it is not on the glass, but on a polished metallic surface. Okay, that is done in the reflection grating. But our main concern, our main interest will be mainly on the plain transmission grating. Okay, that is the situation I told you. That is with the type of grating. Now, how these gratings are actually produced? How you produce this type of grating? This is a fabrication process. Okay, the commercial grating or students grating which are available usually is made by they are called the replica grating. Okay, so what is done there? The process is that on the grating itself. Okay, on the actual grating. Okay, the cellulose acetate is actually poured. Okay, you have to pour cellulose acetate. Oh, sorry, on the actual grating, and you allow it to dry to form a thin, strong film. After that, if you look at the picture, some laser beam is sent there. Okay, so laser beam is sent. Okay, you can see some laser beam is there. So holographic exposure is being done by that process. Okay, so the film is then mounted between two glass plates. Okay, after detaching it from the parent grating. So it was initially grown on a parent grating. Now you take up that film because the grooves are already created from the parent grating. Okay, so you take it and place it between the two glass plates. Okay, so the moment to place it in between the glass plate, you create a replica grating. Now replica gratings are also called students grating, and it is widely used in almost all the student level laboratories. Any undergraduate postgraduate course, this type of gratings are used. Okay, this is the student grating that we use in the laboratory. You can see the phenomena also. Okay, wonderful animation is going on. You just experience. Light is there coming from single slit, falling on diffraction grating. Okay, white light, multiple colors are coming. Okay, but as another exit slit is there. Okay, beautiful filtering process is there, and a detector is there. This is another experiment. Okay, just to show you how you can exploit or utilize the idea of diffraction. Okay. Now let us concentrate a bit more deep details into this multiple state diffraction. If you look at the picture, I have brought in a lens there because I have to create an image on the screen. The screen is at the focal plane of the image, and you can see parallel waves coming in. I have already used another slit to keep the source at the infinity so that I get the parallel waves. So as if the source is at infinity. A is the aperture width, B is the width of the apex phase I mentioned, B A plus equal to A plus B is the grating element. Okay. So all the waves are now meeting at the point O prime, and this is basically will result in central maxima. But we are more concerned, we are more interested about the diffracted one. So now you get the diffracted beam. So you see all diffracted beams are now produced. So they are actually meeting. You see diffracted means the bent beams. Okay, these are the diffracted beams. So all the beams are bent by some angle. All of you can see. So some it is bent by some angle, say theta. So these beams are actually bent, okay, by some angle, say theta. So diffraction is taking place. So basically, these are all the diffracted beams. Okay, they are actually moving towards the point P, and you can see they are coming. They are reaching the point P differently because they are coming from different levels. Okay, the idea is that every point on this leads us Huygens principle secondary wave sources. So every point, okay, the light is coming, but the one which is coming from the which has been bent at the edge of the obstacle, all of them are meeting at the point P, and that they will make a distribution intensity, okay, because they reach there separately. The intensity will vary, okay. So our next job is to calculate this intensity distribution. Okay, we now calculate this distribution in intensity. Okay, what happens? You can see this intensity distribution will be plotting, and you can see the angle theta there. Okay, the theta is the angle of diffraction, and let us consider there are n number of slits up there. Okay, n number of slits are there. So what is the effective contribution of them for the n number of slits that we wish to calculate? Okay, so let us calculate the effective contribution of the n number of slits. Okay, on the final intensity. So it will be very systematic. I'll remind you what you did with one slit, what you did with two slits, and what you are going to do with many slits. This is what you do with one slit. If you just remember, initially we consider the displacement due to waves per unit length, because every point in that single slit was a source of by secondary wave source. Okay, so it was like a pi, a sine 2 pi t by t. Now two waves comes in. If there is, then more waves comes in. The main problem will be the phase difference between the waves super coming meeting at the point P. So this is per unit length. Now if the slit is, if there are, you can say it is the equation a sine 2 pi t by t. So if I define a width of dy, then this equation was becoming like, okay, per unit length is this much. So if I for all over the points I define a length dy there, and then it is basically one dy will be coming here. Okay, k dy uh, sine of 2 pi t by t minus phase difference. Okay, so now basically that phase difference was calculated in that class. Okay, when I was talking about single slit. Okay, it is 2 pi by lambda r minus y sine theta. Basically, this was the point P. So at the point P, this we are reaching. This is one of the wave. Okay, traversing a distance r. The other one is traversing a distance r prime. The phase difference was r minus y sine theta. Okay. There is a path difference, and phase difference is 2 pi by lambda r minus y. So this was actually initially put in that expression of single slit diffraction. So it was like k dy sine of t by t minus r minus y sine theta by lambda. So this was ultimately we utilized it to calculate the intensity due to all the points they are between minus d by dt plus d by 2. So it was integrated, and we achieved the expression of the intensity there. So after that we moved from two slits, one slit to two slits. In case of a double slit, what happens? It is contributed by both the slits, but other stories are remaining same. So we have to do two integrations. Okay, minus a by 2 to plus a by 2 dz1, and another is how you can look at the picture. You will realize minus a by 2 to plus a by 2. This is basically, if you look here, suppose we are taking the contributions. Okay, this is basically minus a by 2 to plus a by 2. So when you consider it, it is basically this becomes okay d minus a by 2 this point, and d plus a by 2 because this much of length is d. Okay, that is a contribution of the slit number 2. So if this is coming from slit 1, the second contribution is coming from the slit 2. Point is that now we are moving into n slits. I hope you realize if n slits are there, so there will be n number of such contribution, and you have to add them up. Okay, and this is the equation as it looks like. You can see there. Okay, it is that again a sine of 2 pi by dy is there already. So there will be two different limits of interest. Now, point is that here earlier we were happy with 2 slits. Now more terms will be added. We talk about the n slits. You can see here. If I consider the slits numbers are like 1, 2, 3, like this much, 1, 2, 3, and so to n. And so net value, net displacement at j will be contribution of dz1. Suppose this is corresponding to the slit 1. dz2 maybe this will be corresponding to the slit 2. So earlier in up to second slit we are 2 slits we are happy up to these 2. Now the third slit will come because n number of slits are there. This is coming from the third slit as I have shown here. This is slit 1. This is from slit 2, and this was slit 3, and there are n slits suppose. So basically in this way we have to, if we add, keep on adding, so I have to go up to n slits. So all this contribution should be this is for the n slit. So all this will be added up to produce a final intensity at the point P. So I have to now tell you how do we add it. Okay, how do we add it? That is our main objective of discussion. You can see they will be all added up. Okay, you can see here if you look at this is coming from maybe one of the slits minus a by 2 to plus a by 2. So this one, if you look at the picture, minus a by 2 to plus a by 2 is this term, the first term. It is written here. Next is d minus a by 2 to d plus a by 2. That means the second term. And up to in this, if you go on, this is the nth term. Okay. Actually, second one, third one will be actually 2i's d minus a by 2. You can see here. This is the third one's contribution. And in this way, it will go on up to the nth term. So if you look at the expression, it looks like this much. Okay, please see, try to realize it. It is wonderfully shown there on the screen from slit 1, that is minus a by 2 to plus a by 2, and the term you integrate is same. Okay, only limits are changing. Next is obviously plus d minus a by 2 to d plus a by 2. Next is plus d more. So you have in the third slit there is 2d, and in the fourth slit there is 3d, like that, one less. So that means when you are in the nth slit, there is n minus 1 d minus a by 2 to n minus 1 d plus a by 2. So now this will be all added up. So our next job is to do this addition a bit. So let us do it very systematically. We'll do. So let us do the calculation. Okay. Let us make the calculations.
To be in the great outdoors, forever free. You and me, meant to be like a bird on a tree. I'm just sitting here, I got time, it's clear to see. From up here, the world seems small. We can sit together, it's so beautiful, you and me. We meant to be in the great outdoors, forever free. Sometimes you need to go and take a step back to see the truth around you. From a distance you can tell